think, Marge. All I need is a title.
People who have known me on Facebook know that I refer to global climate change believers and the pursuit of global climate change research as a church. There is a reason for this, and the recent decision by President Donald Trump to withdraw from the Paris Climate Accords gives us another example of how this church works. See, rather than accepting the fact that the United States has one idea about caring for the environment, and Europe and other countries have their ideas, followers of the global climate change religion, both in the United States and beyond its borders, have cried about the decision. They complained about President Trump, or they try to cajole him into reversing his decision. This video examines exactly how the people and so-called science behind global climate change act more like a religion than a real pursuit of science, and the ramifications of this on people and society. Let's start at the top. Most religions have a leader. Catholics have the Pope, other religions have one man who is running everything, or at least can be seen as the spiritual head of the church. While he does not exactly run everything in the global climate change religion, I would say that Al Gore is the biggest shill for the religion, and its biggest beneficiary as well. The global climate change religion has made Al Gore a very rich person. Now, please note that just because you are a leader in the global climate change religion does not mean that you have to obey its teachings. ABC News reported in 2007 that Al Gore had run up a $30,000 utility bill. In 2013, Al Gore sold his television network to Al Jazeera, a media company funded by the government of Qatar, a government largely sustained by money from oil sales. And also there are reports that Al Gore and numerous other people who are followers of global climate change fly around in very energy-wasting private airplanes. Al Gore is bad enough with his wooden robot-like preaching of falsities in the name of preventing global warming, but others, such as Bill Nye, take this preaching to a new level, as he brings this message to our children, trying to indoctrinate the next generation to become members of the church. So now that we have a leader in some respect, we know that each religion has a holy book, some writ that everyone in the religion must adhere to and evangelize about to others. Christians have the Bible, Islam has the Quran, and the Church of Global Climate Change has the IPCC report issued by the group called the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, which is under the auspices of the United Nations. It sounds official, and with UN backing, it has a seal of approval from not just one country, but the entire world. Each church has to have a headquarters. For Catholics, it is the Vatican. For Muslims, it is Mecca, and for the Jews, it is Jerusalem. For the Church of Global Climate Change, there are two headquarters, although one might be diminishing in importance. One HQ is located at the University of East Anglia in Great Britain. This location is where the so-called scientists working there outright fabricated data in order to support the idea of global climate change. It was this batch of misinformation that first clued me in on the idea that global climate change is a religion, not a science, because the workers at East Anglia saw the data, and they saw that it did not add up the way they thought it would. So rather than change their findings, they changed the data to reflect what they thought the results should be. The second headquarters for the Church of Global Climate Change is NASA, which during the Obama administration took its focus off of space exploration and put its attention into global climate change and outreach to other nations in the world. Of course, each religion has its priests, and global climate change is no different. The so-called scientists working on global climate projects and their assistants are the priests of the Church of Global Climate Change, and all the other believers who are not actually working in the field are the people filling the pews, listening to the sermons from the priests and then going out and spreading the word where they can. Now, at the same time, all religions address their version of sin. Sin, in the case of most religions, is some act of disobedience from God. For the Church of Global Climate Change, a general sin might be anything that contributes to global warming, the current bugaboo. The greatest sin in the Church of Global Climate Change is the sin of climate change denial. The believers will say that the science is settled, and deniers are shunned and called all sorts of names. Some people have had their careers altered or cut short when they come out and say that they have doubts about the science behind global climate change. Finally, the Church of Global Climate Change and other religions have a shared notion of hell. In the case of religions like Christianity and so on, hell consists of a lake of fire and other places and things of pain and torment. Interestingly, the Church of Global Climate Change is trying to prevent its version of hell from becoming a reality, as they say that if humanity does not change course, the earth will heat up and environmental damage will possibly become permanent. The problem with global climate change being pursued with such religious fervor is twofold. First, you have all the believers out there lecturing us on how we should live our lives and how we should look after the environment in order to prevent a disaster. It would be quite fine enough if they would evangelize and advertise about it, but you could just ignore it. But they do so much of it, and they are so insistent about it that it is more than an annoyance. The second problem is that the believers have gotten into various levels of government, and they've passed laws and regulations that impact all of us, whether you believe in their God or not. Everything from the passage of stricter environmental laws to the designation of national monuments, such as the Bears Ears Monument in Utah, all these are meant to be environmentally friendly and slow down the rate of global climate change. Don't get me wrong, I am certainly for a clean environment, and I am all for doing what I can to help out. In fact, I recycle aluminum. However, I also realize that drastically altering our energy economy in favor of solar and wind energy, when we've not prepared the infrastructure to handle such a thing, is stupid and unworkable. Yet the previous administration seriously attempted to put the coal industry out of business and devastate large swaths of the American economy, all for the sake of green energy and preventing global climate change. Unfortunately, it is not enough to simply say that the Church of Global Climate Change must be stopped. They must be, but it will take years, perhaps decades. See, the people in the field now have been tainted. They no longer follow the scientific method and instead substitute their own feelings and wishes instead of following the facts. Until we have new people in place in these fields who are dedicated to discovering what the science really says about global climate change, we must be even more skeptical of the results coming from this field of study than ever. Until this church becomes a science again, we must be vigilant.